Hello and welcome to the Success Showcase. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin with the Modern Observer Group. And with me, as always, is Chip Janiszewski from the Happiness and Success GPS. Chip, how are you doing today?
Doing great. How's things in Middletown, Eric?
Things are good here. We are getting ready to wrap up the year. And
Hard to
it's
we're
what
halfway through December.
what a long, strange year it's been.
Absolutely. Reminds me of a song by the Grateful Dead, which that would have been a good one to invent this year. So
Yes. So yeah, as we're all looking towards 2021, and it's funny when you come to the end of a year, usually you've got some people who are looking forward to it, some people are ambivalent, it's just another day. I have never seen so many people so anxious for a year to end.
absolutely. I'm kind of raising my hand too, except that
Yeah.
saving grace for me this year is I've been a grandfather all year, so it's been a high.
So, of course, coming up to the end of the year, we're going to talk a little bit about setting goals for 2021. I mean, let's face it, all of us have one major goal, and that's to make 2021 a lot better than 2020 was. But when you're talking about individual goals, we've talked a lot about this on the podcast before about SMART goals, about how to do the goal setting process. And yet I still run into loads of people who, when they talk about goals, it's about the same as a New Year's resolution. There's no real process behind it. They don't make them specific. So, we're going to talk about what a real goal is and how you can separate it from a New Year's resolution that most people, they'll make a resolution and then by the end of January, they finished even trying.
Yeah, and one of the big things that I know we're going to be talking about SMART goals, but basically coming down with a major goal is great, but the key to achieving that is chunking it down into little pieces and measuring your success as things are going on. And the bottom line is the more that you can get organized up front and map it out ahead of time so that you have a roadmap towards achieving it. It doesn't matter whether it's 2021 or 2025 or whatever. That's the way to work on goals. And yeah, you're right. So many people are halfway into January and they fail, and that's because they're trying to bite off more than they can chew. So uh, one of the books that I used to like was all about just chunking it down into smaller things, and used an example. If I gave you the option of giving you $1 million today or giving you a penny and doubling it every day for 31 days, what would you choose? And most
I'll
people,
take the penny.
yeah, most people up front would take $1 million because it just sounds bigger. But one becomes two versus four, 8, and so on and so forth. From day 30 to 31, it doubles from 5 million to $10 million. And basically, it's just about doing the same thing every single day. So it talks about just practicing the habit of doing the same thing every day towards achieving your goal. And it's a combination of things that you might get up, but doing something every day towards it, and so on. And by doing that, you can declare a victory every single day, as opposed to saying at the end of the year, hey, I achieved my goal. And achieving something on a daily basis is a lot better for the mindset too.
Right. And it's a lot simpler than people make it out to be. And I'm reminded of a scene from the movie Big, where Tom Hanks is trying to help a kid with his algebra. And he tries to simplify it to terms that the kid can understand. And he says, well, if Michael Jordan scores 10 points in the first quarter, how many points do you think he's going to score in the whole game? And the guy goes, well, that's easy, 40. It's like, and that's what it's about. Michael Jordan said, he was trying to score 60 points a game. And the coach stopped him. The coach said, okay, stop thinking about the game. Can you score 16 points this quarter? And just focus on the quarter and chunk it down. You get to the big goal by doing these little goals. And in our Biznetics process, we refer to them as sprint goals. So you have an overarching goal for a year or 6 months, however long it is, but each day you have a sprint goal. And that's that little goal that you do for that day that's going to get you closer to the big goal. It's just far too difficult trying to do it all at once. You need to break it down.
Yeah, and one of the things, especially for this time of year, obviously, this is a program for business people, but it all starts with the individual. So you should be setting goals for every facet of your life, not just your business goals, financial goals, and so on and so forth. What do you want to do as far as potential getting away or with family or philanthropic? All these things are part of it. And what you do for your work, as far as making money goes, facilitates everything else that you're doing. But you got to work on your own personal strategic plan to put all the pieces together. And it all starts with, just setting goals by the different thing that we're talking about. So, what do you want to do this year as far as if you want to lose 10 pounds? What are you going to do that? And basically, take a walk every day, get up and do some exercise. Uh, Instead of snacking and watching TV when you get home, start read a book or something like that. I mean, there are all little things that you can do towards that. And so, again, you got to work on the whole package, not just the financial part.
Exactly. You want to see your whole life as a whole. Forget about this is business and this is my life. It's all integrated. And one of the tools that we use in my family is a vision board. And this is less about setting the goal, but figuring out what we want to get to so that we can work backwards and then set the goals that are going to get to that. And it's funny, the vision boards work very well. Sometimes surprisingly, we actually didn't do this in 2020 because we usually do it in January and we got sidetracked with COVID. When I finally went back to the vision board, I was amazed at how many things I had to erase from it from the 2019 board because we'd achieved it. So, knowing what you want and being able to visualize it, you can see where you want your life to be. And then your goals come in as you figure out, you look at what your life looks like now and then what you want that life to look like and figure out what's missing and generate the goals to get you there.
Yeah, and again, it starts, with the overall goal. It's breaking it down into the smaller parts and just taking them off one at a time. So vision boards are fantastic. I mean, it's another form of like affirmations, just seeing things done. I mean, in my room, I have calendars for the last 4 years, picture calendars that I put together, and I'm just looking at pictures all the time of family and friends, and it's something that drives me on a daily basis motivationally because you realize once you surround yourself with these things that there's a lot of things for you to be grateful for, and you got to practice gratitude in your life to make everything else work. If you're just getting up day to day, going to work and going through the grind, you're not going to have fun doing it, and it's going to wear you down. So my calendars, it's another form of visualization of things that have happened and looking forward to things in the future.
Absolutely. And we talked about chunking these goals down, and that's so important. But even before you do that, you can't chunk them down unless you make your goal specific. Make more money is not a goal. Make $40,000 more than I did last year. That's a goal. You need to know when you've achieved that goal. And you can't do that unless you have a specific endpoint in mind that you can measure against. So, again, as we're talking about SMART goals, that's the S and the M right there, is specific and measurable. Otherwise, I always use the New Year's resolution of losing weight as an example. I'm going to lose weight this year. Well, that's a great resolution, but it's not a goal. Because if you lose half an ounce, goal, resolution completed, you lost weight. but I'm pretty sure that's not what you meant. So you do need to make these things measurable. I want to lose 25 pounds this year. I want to lose 10 pounds by the time I have to go to my sister's wedding. You have to not just make it a specific measurable goal, you need a deadline.
Yeah, I mean, basically, what we're talking about SMART goals here, which is specific, measurable, action oriented, relevant, realistic, and time bound. And they all have to go together. So, I mean, starting out with the specific goal, it has to be just like you're saying, I want to lose 25 pounds by the end of December. And my plan of action to do that is to start walking 3 times a week, cut out on snacks, and so on and so forth. These are things that you can actually measure and celebrate when you're accomplishing these things daily, as opposed to being all the way through January and saying, oh, wow, there's been snow out and so on and so forth. I haven't exercised a bit and I've gained 5 pounds. And that's so maybe next year.
Exactly. And, when you're figuring out what these goals are, I always recommend setting two goals. The first is your what I'll call the actual goal. This is what you believe you can accomplish right now. The second is the stretch goal. And that's what you're aiming for. You'll be very happy if you get to the actual goal, but if you can get to the stretch goal, it's amazing. I actually did this when I went on my own weight loss plan. My goal was 25 pounds. I wanted to lose 25 pounds. My stretch goal was 35 pounds. Now I ended up losing 50. So I blew even the stretch goal away. And I got to tell you, that just made me thrilled. I mean, there's nothing quite like the feeling of knowing you blew your goals away and did even more. That being said, though, you don't want to set goals that are too easy. That's why I say always go the two. One is realistic. You know you can do it if you put your mind to it. Might not be the easiest thing, but you absolutely know it's possible. Past that, have a stretch goal. Still has to be within the realm of possibility, but that's the one you're going to have to work a little harder to get to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we're talking right now a lot about personal, but obviously, as far as businesses go, it's very, very important to be setting goals for your business. And so, putting together your strategic plan for 2021 is very, very important. And obviously, it's generated by the revenue that you want to make, but what you have to do is chunk that down into where the revenues are going to come from, and then you have to put together your business development strategies to get that work in, your fulfillment to get it out, and put this whole thing together and tie it together with your financial projections. And this does take a lot of work. However, if you just write these things down in an organized fashion, you can put these things together. And obviously, a big thing about running a business and personally too, one of the best things you can do personally if you're having personal goals is get an accountability partner where you can check off with each other on that stuff. And it kind of puts the gun to both of your heads to make sure that that gets going. But in business, especially in these days, it's so important to develop strategic relationships so that you can concentrate on what you're good at with the business and concentrate on getting help where you need help. And these days, with the new technology and the new way of doing things and the new normal and logistics and so on and so forth, we have a great opportunity to really make that thing work, especially because of logistics. Because right now we're all using Zoom, which means we can find resources anywhere we want if we get organized and get on with them anytime we want and get these things going together. So in networking now, well, when I was running networking meetings, I used to talk about developing relationships for business development. Now I'm talking about developing relationships to really collaborate so that everybody's business gets better through these relationships. And that's all part of goal setting too.
Yes, remember, it's so much easier to do things with a partner or with somebody else than it is to do them on your own. Let people know what your goals are. Ask for people's help. Ask what their goals are. See where you can help. The collaboration can boost everybody. And something else that Chip just touched upon, talking about Zoom. Obviously, there's a lot of people that have Zoom fatigue, and I've heard a lot of people going, well, you really can't do this through Zoom. And I want to bring up an example of what just happened this past weekend. Two large pharmaceutical companies, AstraZeneca and Alexion. AstraZeneca bought Alexion. It's a massive corporate merger, and the entire thing was done over Zoom. At no time were any of the people involved in this merger in the same room together. And they were talking about this on CNBC as illustrating the power of what you can do with Zoom. If you can do a major corporate merger this way, you can certainly, small businesses can certainly collaborate this way. Individuals can collaborate this way. There's nothing stopping you from working with other people, even if you can't be in the same room with them.
Yeah, Zoom is so powerful, and you knew a lot about it before because you're a lot more technical than I am. But when COVID first hit, and I know I've talked about this before, but speaking, training, consulting, and all that, physical, thought that was all gone. And now the opportunities are so much more just by doing this and doing Zoom presentations. I mean, we're supposed to get a potential blizzard Wednesday night into Thursday morning. And I'm supposed to be speaking, doing a Zoom presentation on turning obstacles into opportunities for a fellow chamber member at one of his networking meetings Thursday morning. And that would be being canceled right now. However, we can all be hunkering down Thursday morning and with the snow falling down and getting these things done. And obviously, what you just talked about never would have happened if it weren't for Zoom.
Right. So there's always a way to get things done. When you're setting your goals, you should never have the excuse, oh, I don't have the resources to do this. That's what innovation is. It's about figuring out how to accomplish your goals with the resources you already have. And again, if you don't have all of the resources, reach out to your network, work together, hold each other accountable, and help each other out. If you don't know how to do something, you can learn how to do it, or you can ask somebody who knows how to do it. Remember, especially entrepreneurs have this tendency of thinking they have to do it all on their own. And that's simply not true. You have to know where it is you're going. You have to know what goals you want to accomplish. But once you figure out what you have to do and what needs to be done to get you there, you can ask for help. You don't have to be in it alone.
Yeah, and using this modern technology, it's never been easier to do so. So the key is really hunkering down and writing down your goals very, very specifically, as we've been talking about, and then chunking them down into what has to be done, the little tasks to make those work. And then what are the resources that you need? Is it something you can do yourself? Is it something that you need help with? Is it something you want to subcontract out? The more organized you are up front, writing those things down, the easier it will be for you to organize your strategy to connect with the people to make this whole thing work for you and for them too.
And writing it down doesn't need to be a daunting task. You don't need a 20-page report on how you're going to do this. A while back, we did a podcast called Recipe for Success, and it was about taking a recipe card and using that as your template for the project plan. The name of the recipe is your goal. The ingredient list is all of the resources that you need to accomplish that goal. The recipe itself is the process that you are going to follow to accomplish that goal. If you want, you can even put a picture in there to show you what that goal is going to look like. But the whole thing was based on a recipe card, and it doesn't have to be more difficult than that.
And it's a very fun way to look at things. I mean, when I was doing a little bit of research looking in these things today, one of the outside the box things that I liked that somebody wrote about is start 2021 with a theme. And this gal talked about the first thing that she likes to do setting goals is develop a theme for the entire year. How do you want to feel at the end of the year? What's the big focus that you'd like to have for yourself and your life at the end of the year? For her, she's very outgoing, so she chose to make 2021 a party theme, basically having fun throughout the years. And she was writing out ways to do this, including brainstorming and getting other people involved. But having a fun thing to do, fun way to do your goals is very, very cool. And so, I mean, that really caught me as far as that. But it does talk about making an action plan, uh, make big goals that'll make you feel happy and proud to achieve, like you talked about before, blowing away the weight thing. Um, but think about it in a fun way to do it. And if you make it sort of a game, but still apply these practices of being specific and chunking down and so on and so forth, you're going to have more fun while you're doing it, which is really important.
Yes, if you're having fun while you're accomplishing these goals, it's going to be that much easier to accomplish them. And especially, we've talked about measurable goals and realistic, but there's also the BHAG, the big hairy audacious goal. That's the big one. That's where you're shooting for the moon. Google calls these, when they do them, in-house moonshots. And don't ignore these, because some of these can really push you further than you ever thought you could go. It can be, doubling your business. It could be starting a whole new business. If you're Elon Musk, one of these goals is literally going to the moon. Just because somebody tells you, oh, you can't do it, doesn't make it true. So yeah, there's a magic in creating these big goals. Just make sure you've got it broken down into smaller goals along the way. And if it takes you 2 or 3 years to accomplish the big goal, or even 5 or 10 years, look at, again, using Elon Musk as an example. He's been aiming for the moon for a long time. He's not there yet, but he's not giving up. And he's closer than ever now that he's actually got rockets going to the International Space Station. So you never know what you can accomplish until you envision that big goal and you really push to get it done.
Absolutely. So hopefully you're all looking forward to doing this for the year 2021 out there. It's really not rocket science. The bottom line is that technology may have changed, the times may have changed, all types of things may have changed, but goal setting has remained the same. I mean, SMART goals came out a long, long time ago. And if you just discipline yourself to formulate your goals right now, like we were talking about, it's really, really important moving ahead. Those things won't change, but there's a lot of different ways and a lot more ways that you can achieve them now than ever.
There certainly are. And something to remember is that whatever your goal is, you need to be working on it on a regular basis. You can't say you want to achieve this goal by December and not look at it again until mid November. And then you go, oh my God, there's no way I can do that now. You make the goal in January, you start working on the goal in January. If you're making a goal in March, you start working at it in March. Work on the goal as soon as you make it, because you break it into small enough pieces to make it easy to do. Build that momentum, and you never know how far you can go. So again, we've talked about the SMART goals, and again, SMART is an acronym that's specific, measurable, action oriented, realistic, and time bound. You need to make sure you have all 5 of those. If you set a goal without a deadline, that's just a dream. If you're not specific, it's not really a goal, because you never know how you're going to measure your success. And that's the big thing. All of your goals are meant to build on your successes. So just because you have one goal now doesn't mean when you accomplish that goal And hey, maybe you can accomplish the goal earlier than you planned. That builds to the next goal. You want to keep building and keep moving forward. It's
Yeah,
not, well, this is my goal. And once I'm there, I don't have to do anything anymore. No, this just gets you to the next point so you can see what more you can do.
yeah, we're talking about going into the year of 2021. One of the things that you can do for yourself is discipline yourself to set goals in January, and then I'm going to set more goals in February, and then more in March, and more in April. And if you put that in as part of your process of planning, then you're automatically going to be having a goal of setting goals on a monthly basis. So that's just food for thought there, to discipline yourself to make it, instead of just annually, make it a whole lot more frequent, just like you're talking about.
Yeah, there's nothing says that the only time you can set new goals is the beginning of a year, the beginning of a quarter. There's a natural tendency to do so, but you can start a new goal, start a new program at any time. And when you come up with that goal, there's no reason to say, oh, well, I'll do that next quarter or I'll do that next year. No, start it right away. Get moving on that. If you thought of it, it means it's important enough that it bubbled up to the top of your brain amid all of the other things that you're thinking about. So that means it's got some importance. So start on it right away. Put your plan together and move forward on it. And again, the more goals you have that you can achieve, the better your momentum, the more you can do. You know, people talk about 5-year goals, 10-year goals. Realistically, very few people ever accomplish a 10-year goal because things change so much that by the time 10 years have gone, it's no longer relevant. You've gone in a different direction. Technology has changed. There's so many changes. But put together a 5-year goal to aim at, yeah, you can pivot along the way, but that's that big goal that you want to accomplish. You know, maybe it's, taking your business to the next level. Maybe it's moving your business to a new city. Maybe it's buying another business and combining with yours. Things that aren't going to happen overnight. It doesn't matter what your time frame is as long as you keep working on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that you can do, I mean, you've probably heard of the exercise of sitting down with a piece of paper and writing down 100 goals. And what I tell people to do if they want to do that is put that into a spreadsheet and just start writing. And if you're out during the day, write it on a piece of paper and then put it in a spreadsheet. And what you're able to do then is you're able to sort those first by priority as far as what's important to you. And then once you have your priorities, you can actually sort them by, okay, this is something I want to do this month, this year. This could be a 3 to 5 year goal, and so on and so forth. But it's a great way to get organized, and it's a wonderful tool to do that. But what you have to do is start writing some things down right now and doing them. And the bottom line is if you prioritize them and just again use the SMART goal system, it's going to work for you.
Right. When you're putting your goals down, there's a big bonus to prioritizing them because the fact of the matter is if you're trying to do all of your goals at once, you're probably going to get overwhelmed. So by prioritizing them, you get the most important ones or the ones that are most important to you done, and then you can move on to some of your other goals, but prioritize them. So we're coming up on the end of our time. So Chip, what do you think the big takeaway for our audience is?
I think even though the times have changed, goal setting has really remained the same. And the best template out there that I can see is the SMART goals template, SMART. If you go online and Google that, you can get an explanation of all that. But specific means you write down specifically what you want to do. Measurable means that you have to measure your results. Action oriented, that means you got to do something about it. Relevant and realistic, that means it's got to be exactly what I said, relevant and realistic. And then time bound, you have to have that done. The bottom line is you got to start someplace. And if you can write those goals down and work on them using the SMART goal system, it's great. Get people involved with you. Don't try and do everything yourself. Play to your strengths and Most importantly, have fun doing what you're doing. Make sure that you're celebrating something all the time and smiling at that person in the mirror who's accomplishing all this.
Well said. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Goal setting hasn't changed all that much, even with COVID, even with technology. It's about making sure you've got a specific measurable goal, you've got a deadline, and you're working towards it every day. You've been listening to the Success Showcase. You can catch us every week at xvadio.com/podcasts. You can also find us on the Apple Podcasts app, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, and wherever you find podcasts. Remember, make this your best week ever and make next week even better. See you then.